everybody. My name is Riley, and I had this idea to start these YouTube videos. That's my dog Bobby, over wherever he's going. Anyways, I had this idea to start these YouTube videos for education purposes for dealing with cancer diagnoses. So since everything is going to technology nowadays, I figured that this was a good idea instead of just, ranting on Facebook like everyone else does and everyone stops reading it about halfway through reading your bullshit. So I wrote down my handy dandy paper ideas that I wanted to discuss that I wish I had when I was initially diagnosed. So as you can see behind me, I have a cancer ribbon, which you can't see all of. That little guy. That I would first like to use to show not all cancer is pink, and that is so important to me because all anyone ever associates with cancer is the pink ribbon, Susan G. Komen, breast cancer, and that is not the only one. It makes me so frustrated and infuriated to see all this stuff in October to raise awareness for Susan G. Komen, that organization, which almost nothing is used to go towards breast cancer research. It all goes to the CEO, and she's just making a shitload of money because people think that pink is cool and you're supporting a cause when your intentions might be good, but that's not the case. So this is going to be educational, right? I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer when I was 24 weeks pregnant. I'm now 27, and my daughter just turned 2.5, so she's fine and healthy. I am now in remission, and I'm taking it upon myself to kind of raise awareness and advocate, especially with colon cancer, because diagnoses are happening more often under the age of 50. But I just got really tired of seeing all the pink and nothing about any other cancer, especially colon cancer, where it's just on the rise. Like, the diagnoses are on the rise. And unfortunately, I am not the only one that I have met that have been in a similar situation as me, diagnosed while pregnant. There's actually 2 or 3 other women that I have met that have been diagnosed. Unfortunately, one passed away in 2015, and the 2 other girls I know are still doing well, and their daughters are just great and healthy as well. So I'm kind of doing this as a resource, not for everyone out there that's been diagnosed while they're pregnant, but just something to watch, to relate to, because you just feel all these things when you're first diagnosed, that you're like, who do I even turn to? Like, you have a bad breakup, you can go to your best friend and just curse the person, right? And you have a bad day at work, you can go and tell your significant other or your family or whomever, just be like, my boss sucks. But with cancer, a lot of people are affected by it, but a lot of them haven't been diagnosed by it. It's normally a family member or a loved one or a friend or a grandpa's uncle's cousins twice, or you get the point, whatever. And so this is just going to serve as, okay, someone else does know what I'm going through and they do get it. I'm going to do it in a series of videos, and I don't know how often I'll post them. My goal is no more than once a week. I don't know how long I'll do this for, but I just kind of wanted to do an introduction and just kind of introduce myself. I guess I could tell a little bit more about my story. There's not much it's all kind of significant, I guess, but it's a long story, and I don't want to take up, 20 or 30 minutes. But yeah, I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer when I was 24 years old. I was 17 weeks pregnant. They found it through a laparoscopic procedure, and I don't know how much people know about the medical lingo, so I'll kind of describe or explain a lot of the terms I use. Laparoscopic procedures where they go in essentially through your belly button with little tubes, like robot. It's like the robotic surgery. They go in with a little camera and a little robot thing and do what they need to do. Well, they told me, okay, so I went to the ER a couple of times for a pain that I was having on my left side. And they kept chalking it up to the pregnancy. They're like, oh, you're just small and pregnant and your hips are expanding and blah. And I was like, it doesn't make sense. It's like excruciating pain. I wasn't walking. I wasn't eating. I couldn't lay down comfortably. I wasn't peeing. My pee was bright orange. I'm trying to see if like anything, like the orange on the MasterCard, like bright orange. And I was forcing myself to pee. So I was like, something's not right. I'm probably just overly dehydrated. But I would still go out and like struggle to walk, and I would leave, like walk around feeling like I was going to pass out, like tunnel vision. So I finally went to the ER, and icing on the cake, the father of my baby was also deployed at this time. So they finally do an ultrasound, and they're like, oh, it looks like a twisted ovary. Let's go in laparoscopically, check it out, fix it. It'll cause more harm to you and the baby to not do that than it would to do this procedure. I was like, all right. They're like, it's only 45 minutes, so it's not gonna be crazy or whatever. So I text my parents because at the time I was living near them. No, I was living with them. And they come to meet me at the hospital, and then I get wheeled back to surgery, and I wake up and I find out that it was 5 hours later and not 45 minutes later. I wake up with a colostomy bag, and to those that don't know, a colostomy bag is where your intestine comes out of your stomach. I'll show you my, there's part of my scars. Look at that. Okay. So right here where the scar is, that is where the colostomy bag was, and that's how you poop. So you poop out of your stomach for however long. So they got in there and they're like, oh, your intestine looked dead, or part of it. And there's like an abscess and like pus everywhere. It was disgusting, apparently. Sorry if you're squeamish. Should have gave that a little heads up. They cut out the dead part of my intestine and then gave me the colostomy. And then I also had the lower part, so below my belly button and the T part, were my scar while I was pregnant. And at the time they told me that it was an infection, you know, all this stuff, and then like, or cancer, but not likely. Your age, you're young. You know, same thing that we have all heard being misdiagnosed, colon cancer related. 5 days later, they tell me it's cancer. They transport me to another place 2 hours away because we lived in a very, 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 very small town. So I'm there, and then 6 days after being there, they went to the tumor board and talked about my case, talked to the surgeon that did the surgery, and they're like, oh yeah, it's stage 4 because it was in the abdominal lining. I didn't have any scans or anything done because I was pregnant. At this time, they brought up the pregnancy, and they asked me what I wanted to do. Did I want to terminate? Did I want to keep the baby? You know, what was the plan? And I was like, well, you guys are the doctors. You tell me what is recommended. Like, if I terminate, does that change the course of my treatment? If I keep the baby, does that shorten my lifespan? Like, what are we working with here? And my parents were there, so clearly they told me to put myself first. I don't see that as selfish. I am their baby, and I don't blame them. I would have said the same thing. And then James, the father of the baby, now my husband, at the time we were just dating, was in the room as well, and they were like, well, you know, it's really up to you guys. Riley doesn't need radiation, so the pregnancy doesn't, because if I were to get radiation, I'd have to terminate because the baby just wouldn't make it. So they kind of left it up to us. We discussed that, the baby being underweight was the biggest concern. So we could either wait for me to start chemo, deliver the baby at 26 to 28 weeks. The baby would then be, you know, we'd worry about lung underdevelopment and underweight. We could start the chemo, and then I would deliver at 35 weeks, or I'd be induced at like 32, 34 weeks, and then still the underweight issue, but at least the lungs would have been developed. I think those are the only two options, actually. Whatever. I feel like there's another one. So while we were sitting there discussing, they were like, well, we can get Riley and the baby through this. Like, we can get her through the pregnancy and deliver the baby. That's not a problem. We're not worried about that. and they looked at James and they're like, you need to make arrangements to be a single father because she doesn't have long after the baby gets here. Well, fuck you too, docs. Here I am almost 3 years later. Anyways, still bitter, clearly. So I decided to start chemo. They did send me to MD Anderson for a third opinion, but we decided to start chemo. And I did 4 rounds while pregnant. I was supposed to do 6, but I had eclampsia and I seized twice, and they had to lifeline me to deliver the baby. So she's fine. She's healthy. She was underweight, 4 pounds, 4 ounces. But we didn't stay in the hospital more than 5 days. And that was because my blood pressure was high. So we had to make sure that and the magnesium was out of my system. So that, then I got a month off of chemo. I did 9 more rounds of chemo. That was different than what I was on when I was pregnant. It was way more difficult, way more toxic, not normally used. I think it's being used more. I think it was just out of clinical phases whenever I was on it. I don't recommend it. Obviously, it's worth it. I'm here. And then I had a really difficult surgery called the HIPEC procedure back February 2016, and that's where I got the big gash. And they reversed this guy, and they gave me this guy. And that's an ileostomy, same thing, just small intestine versus large intestine. And then they had all this. They had one of those like devices that keep you open. Pretty weird. So now when I lean back, my ribs are uneven. It's really creepy. But they removed my appendix, gallbladder. I got a hysterectomy. They took everything except for my cervix. Appendix, gallbladder, hysterectomy. They removed my omentum, which is the fatty layer that protects your organs, basically. So I can get a hernia easier, but it was nothing that they were overly concerned about. And let's be honest, I'm not lifting anything too crazy. I'm not working out. Omentum. Oh, and then when they closed up my colostomy, they took more of my large intestine. And then when they put this, they took more small intestine to test for the margins to make sure they were clean, meaning there was no cancer. And then they dump this chemo in my body, or my abdominal area. It's heated to 108 degrees, and they just slosh you around, and it goes through in like an hour and a half. And 108 because cancer cells die at that temperature. So they do it for an hour and a half, and then they suction it all out, and they take it out, and then they stitch you back up, and then you go to recovery, and recovery is a bitch. I wasn't right for like 6 months. I got down to 91 pounds. When I figure out this video thing and can like edit them and like bring up pictures to show you guys, I'll start doing that. I'm just not that talented right now, I guess. I'll figure it out eventually. I'll get with the times. So yeah, I got down to 91 pounds. I'm now 120, and I'm good here. I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable. So yeah, I've been in remission since then, and then May 2016 they reversed the ileostomy, so no more pooping out of my stomach in public. Pretty convenient though, guys. A colostomy bag means you don't ever have to stop to go to the bathroom. Well, you have to pee. But I could like get my hair done and just like shit. It was great. So my whole life now basically is surrounded by poop. So good thing I was never, what's it called, modest. I'm an open book. I'll talk about anything and everything, hence the videos, because I needed someone to do that with me. I found a support group online, but colon cancer, right? 50 and older, old man's disease. I'm the opposite of those two things. So, yes, I'm very colon cancer specific. I'm a huge advocate for it. I mean, you can see behind me, wait, the side, sorry. Oh, that's even a, how do I figure out this mirroring thing, guys? This is going to be the most entertaining part for you. What the hell is happening? There we go. That's an intestine, or like a colon pillow. And then all the drawers and shelves have all colon cancer stuff in it. That blue bag is a colon cancer bag. Under those drawers, there's a whole bunch of like educational pieces. So I might give fun facts every once in a while. But these videos aren't specific to colon cancer. A lot of my facts will probably be based on them because that's just what I know. But this is just for anyone that goes through cancer, because for anyone that hears the words, you have cancer or it's cancer or whatever, to hear cancer is paralyzing, and you go into this shock and you just stop listening to the doctors after that. And sometimes you just have all these questions and all these thoughts going through your head afterwards, and you leave and you're like, well, now I can't see them for a week or two, and you're like, what do I do? And then you start Googling, and it's the worst thing you can do. Blindly Googling is so bad. Everyone does it. You're still going to do it. And I'm just going to reiterate it's bad because I did it. And I just wish that I watched something like this to kind of relate and know that, yeah, it's okay to feel like you're dying tomorrow because you just got told this really fucking shitty news. And um, I don't know, I'm very passionate about it. And I just really want this to be a good resource for people. So I will be posting this one, getting the awareness out there, education, and then I will be working on my technically first video as far as, you know, what it's like to be initially diagnosed and processing the information and all the medical teams and just a lot of relatable stuff or stuff that could be for someone that's about to go through it that were just diagnosed and hasn't gotten to that point yet. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope that this is something that can start helping you or help someone that you know. Till next time.